No.
Alright.
If it wasn't easier.
Okay folks, welcome back. Alright, we're still on purpose here, so we're just going through the end of the days with another few to do. And like I say, this mightn't seem like, much to you today, but this is the core principles.
Speak
Alright, but if you can master these, so take your pieces of paper home with you, alright, and just do a little bit more study on the ones that you're a bit iffy about, because it's not about knowing these. Knowing these is only the first step. It's actually applying them then. That's where, this is where, don't intellectualize all of these things and say, oh, I know that, and then all of a sudden you're using these without knowing again. That's the whole point of this. First step is to know these, to learn these, but then the next step, the most important, is to apply these. Where am I using these? Where is my day going wrong? What tools of the ego am I using, to keep myself in the ego thought system, in the ego mind? This is just what it's all about. If you don't know these, then you're basically in a state of unawareness, all right? And you have kind of an excuse then, okay? And what will bring you around to knowing these is pain. You will suffer.
Can I ask a question just on the last one, the ego's right mind, because that's where I'm stuck. I'm seeing it, and I am saying to myself, okay, it's my own. But how do you stop seeing it?
Right. What part of the ego right mind are you using?
Seeing the ego right mind.
Right. Okay. Give me an
All
example.
like people who give, but they're not giving to. They're giving to get.
Yeah.
Who are building a persona on being good, but it's for expectations and wanting something in return. That type of stuff.
Yeah. Yeah. So how does this make you feel? See, it's important you bring it back to yourself.
Arrogant.
It makes you feel arrogant.
Yeah.
Why?
Because I can see it.
Right.
Like,
And
and
why would you feel that?
I think I'm better than that.
Right. So who are you looking in this with?
Ego.
Yeah. Okay. Remember, if you're seeing the ego, all right,
I'm looking. Yeah, and I'm going.
Yeah,
Okay, I know I'm arrogant.
You've only made one error in your synopsis so far.
Okay.
Anybody want to pull in there? One thing that Alicia says, she's seeing other people's right minds, ego right minds.
Yeah, no, I know it's my own.
All right, that's okay. That's all right. So that's the first step.
Yeah, no, I know it, but that's all. But I want to stop seeing it.
Right. Okay. But all you have to do then is what's going to bring you to stop seeing it is forgiveness. By recognizing that's me, take responsibility.
Okay.
You, as long as you see it, it means, all right, that that's a part that you need to heal, that you're not taking 100% responsibility. You see, the ego very cleverly here, right, sees other people's egos, and they have got it all wrong. And remember chapter 9, the correction of error, where Jesus says, only the ego will see other people's egos, and only the ego will try to correct other people's egos. So when you're seeing other people's egos, you can be sure you're looking with your own ego. When you're looking at your own ego in other people, now you're looking at the ego.
Okay.
And that's what you must claim responsibility for. Don't just zone it by saying this is this person's ego or that person's ego. If you see it, you've got it. Always claim responsibility. So that's your only purpose in this. That's mine, that's mine. And then don't judge yourself for doing it. You know the way you were judging yourself as arrogant.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And that's just the ego dragging you back into it. So don't allow the ego to tell you the story about this. Just see it, claim responsibility, and laugh at it. Because when you're waking up, the ego thought system's still going to be sitting there. It's still going to be tempting you. But the only difference is now you're not going to be fooled by it. You're not going to take it seriously. So it's like you were saying over in the thing, mate. Now you're not feeling guilty anymore about it. Do you know what I mean? Like you're having these thoughts or whatever, and now you don't feel, you don't feel the pain anymore. So this is your progression along with this. Before, there would be a lot of thoughts coming in, and we would just feel so guilty about these thoughts. You move past that stage now. Now you're in this stage where basically it's not, as Isabel was telling me about the pain in that relationship, now there's no pain in that relationship. Okay? So it's just about now finishing the job off. Do you know what I mean? Like, you're taking a lot of responsibility for your circumstances, so now it's just about you know, that could be healed, but the ego is going to basically make sure it's healed for you, because if you react, then it's not healed. So it's the same, you know, if you react to other people's egos, right minds and stuff like that, you know, because it's only arrogance is of the ego at the end of the day, so you're looking at that truthfully in a way, like, you know. Is that okay?
Yeah.
So it's all, you know, when you do tempted to see other people's egos, it's your attempt not to claim responsibility.
It's your attempt, right?
Not to claim responsibility by blaming other people's egos. That's unforgiveness. Okay? So what forgiveness is basically at the end of the day, that's me. If you see the ego in anybody, like, that's my ego. That's all. Just recognize it's yours. That undoes the protection, it undoes the judgment, and then bring it to the truth. Yeah? So, resistance. What's the purpose of resistance? Fear. Purpose is fear and resistance. It's the most subtle form of fear there is, because, you know, okay, you might want to sit down and say, right, I'm going to do a meditation this evening. And you might be fearful of doing the meditation, so what you're going to do is you're going to find something else to do, and you're going to rationalize that story. Oh, I have to get this done, I don't have time for the meditation. That's resistance. You know, and the whole point of about the meditations this year was to break up the ego's hold over you, okay, by not allowing you to do the meditations in the beginning. Okay, so it's about not listening to the ego. When you sit down to do a meditation, go inside, it's the last place the ego wants you to go. Okay? It's the last place the ego. So the ego is going to find something better for you to do. Okay? So resistance is a very subtle form of fear, and just look at how you're resisting the course. Look at how you're resistant to the truth. Look at how resistant you are to giving unconditional love to everybody around you. These are all forms of resistance. You know, it's not only sitting down to do your meditations or the course. Look at all things you're resisting in your life. By you bringing them into awareness, by saying, okay, I'm resisting this, but I can allow myself to resist this at this time. Because resistance is fear, and what you're asked not to do is to push yourself in, put yourself into circumstances or situations that become too fearful for you. So the first step is just to be aware of your resistance and look at your rationalization. Okay? Because you'll always rationalize resistance. Okay? By thinking, I have something better to do. Too busy. Okay? Forgiveness to destroy. What's the purpose there?
Keep you separated.
Yes. Yes. It's always to keep you separate. The forgiveness in the course is about you joining with another. We are one, you and I. And what I see in you and how I see you is how I see myself. Forgiveness to destroy automatically brings in a separation straight away. I've forgiven the sinners. I separate myself from this person. They're sinful. And I'm forgiving them because I'm a good person. Okay, so all forms of forgiveness to destroy are all forms of separation. So we separate the person from us, and like we just talked before the break, when you separate yourself from anyone, even one person, you separate yourself from God. Doesn't matter if it's 1 million or 10 million or one person. It's the same result. And this is what the truth behind the parable of the 99 sheep was. Okay? Being in love with 99 people means nothing. You hate them. You must love the 100, the whole, the complete, or you don't love anybody. Yeah? So forgiveness to destroy has a very true and definite purpose. It is used to separate ourselves, which keeps us separate from God. False empathy.
Align with the victim. To align with the victim.
It's the same as forgiveness to destroy. It's
Yeah.
reinforcing separation.
It does.
Same
It
as-
does. And not only reinforcing separation, it reinforces suffering. Because you're joining in the person in suffering. You're seeing this person suffering.
You're identifying with the
Yes.
suffering.
Yeah. And you're making the suffering real. And if you make the suffering real for another person, you're making it real for yourself. You will suffer. Because what you're doing now is you're saying, right, I'm joining with you, I agree you're suffering and this is horrible. But that's you just identifying with your own suffering. Suffering will come into your own awareness because of that. Okay? Special relationships.
keep the illusion real, keep separation,
Let's be more specific.
hatred,
Specificity.
specificity.
Anybody see Inception?
Yeah.
Remember your man, specificity. Okay, so what is special relationships? What's the purpose?
Hide
It's
the,
a joint defense judgment.
keep the guilt hidden.
Yeah, that's exactly what it's for.
Sorry?
It's to join with another person in guilt.
Nothing to blame.
Well, I mean, we do use these special relationships for blame, but we also have them for the illusion of love. Do you
So
know?
it's basically joining with guilt.
Guilt.
Can you just explain that, you get more there, like the idea of that, the joint with another self?
Right. Just maybe a visual might do, because, I'm into my visuals. All right. When Jesus calls the special relationships, he calls it the home of guilt. And the reason being, say this is all us as one, right? And there's many, many, many billions of people here, right? So what we do with all these 10 them dots is all people, right? So what we do with the special relationship is, right, this is true oneness, okay? This is the ego's oneness. All right? Now, all of these people are kept separate because these two people join together and they're special. And what they're doing again is they're reinforcing separation, which reinforces guilt. Okay? And the reason why they reinforce guilt is because you can't have separation without guilt. So once you join with one other special person, what you're doing is you're rejecting everybody else. Okay? So this is why the special relationship is the home of guilt, because it keeps the guilt hidden under the illusion of love. And we know what love is, right? Love is unconditional, everyone. It's not between two people. So this is the ego's definition of what love is between two people enjoying it.
And what do you, up to the point of separation, reinforcing separation, it's the guilt partly, guilty of what?
Because it's the guilt from the separation in itself, because you're separated. You're seeing this person, say this is you here, and this is this other person. Well, you're seeing this person now as different, special, unique, or individual from everybody else. So once you do that, okay, you're choosing separation. And the effects of separation is guilt. So guilt will automatically come into this relationship. So just to run you through the process, what happens then, they join together under the illusion of love. Okay? What happens then is all the judgments that were, as always inside of us, will be projected onto this other person. So we will be projecting our guilt onto this other person. Because we always project onto the people closest to us. That's who we hold the most judgments against. Alright? So not only are we separated from everybody else, okay, then we separate from this person because we're projecting our guilt onto that person. So this is why the special relationship, if you haven't realized it by now, is a very lonely experience to have. You ever remember Diana, Princess Diana? She was so lonely at that time in the marriage and everything else, because she was totally alone. It was the special relationship. There was no love in it, And of course then both the blame game gets up and everything else. And the illusion of love always turns to hate in the end of it. So now, I love you provided you do everything for me. And when you don't fulfill my needs, I'm going to hate you. Because it was always hate from the very beginning. Does that answer? Yeah? You see the guilt is, but the guilt, just one other line that's coming through there, right? The guilt is always kept secret in the special relationship. So maybe that's why you find it hard to discover that, because it's kept secret under the illusion of love. But the guilt will always come to the surface when your needs are not fulfilled. This is why we're working on the teacher's course and stuff like that this year about demands, expectations, needs and desires. And even our meditation on this month 11, it's about that. It's not only about in your demands, expectations, needs and desires in your special relationships. It's everything. You know, we do the course, we have massive expectations from the course, and we want them now, we want results now. So you can see the ego getting in. How come this person's having an experience and I'm having no experience? Like, oh, there must be something different about me. So you're separating yourself already. You know, this is the ego's working away all the time. Huh? You know, so the ego never gives up its story. Like, it's going to keep bugging away at you all the time, like giving you an alternative story. You know, so the guilt is kept secret under the illusion of love. Yeah?
But with our friends, we also put them in a special
Yes,
relationship.
of course.
Like, and we don't make friends with everybody else.
Exactly. Same differences. You know, but you look at it then, what are you getting out of that friendship? You have it set up that way to get something out of it. You know, you're going to have the illusion of love for the people who you think you love, and you're going to have the illusion of hate for the people that you don't love. So the ego wants both ways. The ego can't lose. And it's all the ego right mind. All the ego right. Yeah.
Sorry, Michael?
Somebody ask a question there? No?
Yeah, Simon. I was listening to that and I do understand about the specialized, but then, you know, if you're, how do you have relationships then? It's just everybody the same, you know, you treat everybody the same, so there's never going to be like a partner, or that partner is just going to be very even to you, or...
Yeah. But this is really, you know, the special relationship is me and Clayton as above, we're really tightening it here, like, so you come close to one or two people. The holy relationship is you detach, okay? You detach from the people closest to you, and you start to bring everybody else into the group. Do you know what I mean? Like, and remember, the holy relationship is, first of all, you join in your right mind, and then all your relationships become holy. The problem with a special relationship is we listen to the ego and we join the ego first, and now all our relationships are special. So form doesn't matter. It doesn't matter who you're with. It doesn't matter what you're doing. It depends on who you join with first. Does that answer? Yeah? The victim.
Keeping the story alive.
Yeah. Plus.
Irresponsibility.
Plus.
Separation.
Plus.
Innocent victim. Victim.
Stop throwing the whole right ones out there. It's very specific. Specificity. I like that word. Okay. What is the ultimate purpose of the victim?
I believe in guilt.
Huh?
I believe in guilt.
Yeah, of course. But,
Projection of guilt.
yes, you're going to do that. Yes, you're going to do that.
God is angry.
Okay, there's a special crucial difference here why we play the role of the victim.
Oh, we have to criticize them.
Projecting our guilt onto others.
We get to blame somebody else. Okay. We get to be separate. We get to be miserable. We get to be guilty, fearful, hateful, vindictive, and we get to blame somebody else for it. It's not my fault I'm this way. The world made me this way. It was my parents. It was my teacher. It was my ex. You know, just look in your life, right? Okay, how many times you played the victim. This is why you're doing that, because you want to be separate. You're choosing the ego thought system. You want to be separate, but you want to blame somebody else. You want someone else to pay the price. But the victim and the victimizer are both the same. For the simple reason is you have made the decision to be the victim, so therefore you've made a decision to victimize yourself. Okay? Yeah? Anybody here victimizing themselves? Still? Still? Okay, we'll come back to that. Guilt. What's the purpose of guilt?
Stuck in the ego thought system. Belief in sin.
More specificity.
Belief in sin and separation. A belief in sin and
That's
separation.
exactly it. The purpose of guilt is to reinforce that you're separate. So the more guilty that you feel, okay, the more true it is that the separation has happened. So So every time you're feeling guilty, it's because you've chosen to feel, no matter what you do, no matter what you say, your behavior, it's always a choice, a pre-programmed choice that you have made to be separate. Okay? Fear.
Do you think guilt?
No, I'm not going to let you away with that one. Specificity.
Guilt. Trap me in the egos, keep you stuck again in the.
No. Fear has a very specific, think about it, very specific tool.
Stop you doing something.
And we separate from God.
Doing what?
Forgiveness.
Thinking and the Holy Spirit mindset.
Hope, it stops you getting
Saboteur.
hope. Despair.
It protects what?
Protects the ego, the ego.
Well, specificity. What does it protect? The clue is just above it.
Our separation from God.
Guilt.
It protects the guilt. So let's say you're going to do a meditation to bring the guilt into awareness. Okay? You're going to say, right, I'm going to do a meditation now. I was feeling a little guilty earlier on. I want to look at the truth of this. And the next thing, resistance comes up about doing the meditation. Resistance, fear. Okay, so you see the way resistance protects the guilt in your mind. Okay, because it's the same. Fear and resistance are the exact same. Both will try to stop you looking at the guilt. And there is no guilt. The guilt will remain as long as you don't look at it. Again, I'll go back to Ken Wapnick. Listen to Ken. Look at the guilt. Throughout the whole course, Jesus said, just look at it. You'll see it's not there. But we don't look at it because of the fear. The fear of going inside. You know, the fear of God, the fear of choosing the Holy Spirit. All of these. Okay, so fear protects the guilt. It keeps the guilt hidden. The world, dual purposes. One for the ego.
The place of learning on one side, and then the illusionary element that we've created, the ego mind is created on the other side.
Well, basically, you know, you can put this down to two simple purposes. One is the ego's is to keep you asleep. Everything will be mastered. Once you choose the ego thought system, everything now is going to be mastered to keep the separation in place. That means all the ego's tools come into play. Okay? The other one is to waken you up. Alright? It's to facilitate learning. It's a classroom, as Jesus says. So now, how do we use this classroom? We get the tools of the Holy Spirit and we start using them. That's the purpose of A Course in Miracles, is to start using the tools. Like I said in London, right? The Course is a big toolbox. Alright? And what we're supposed to do, alright, is we're supposed to look at the book, study the book, and take the tools out of it. And then we say, right, that's okay, we'll leave the book there now, I'm going to use these tools. What we're not supposed to do is sit our head in this book for 30 years, intellectualizing it. Okay, like many people have done. Many people have contacted me through these videos that's gone out, and they couldn't believe how much they were intellectualizing the whole course. They actually didn't do anything. And I came across in London very much, people weren't simply using the tools. You know, they were sitting, they were reading the book, and they were going home and saying, oh, this is wonderful. But they weren't doing anything. Right at the beginning of the course, Jesus says, this is a course in application.
You know, is that because they didn't understand the book? Because you're taking words here that we couldn't analyse unless or we wouldn't understand unless you explained them to us.
Yeah.
So like if I read the book right through, thinking I'm trying to pick my own interpretation out of it, more than likely I wouldn't pick it out the right way. I wouldn't. So
You would eventually. Might take a long
I
time.
would have taken
Yeah.
a long time. So
Yeah.
so is that what they're doing? They're just reading it and it's not going into what the words actually mean.
You see,
And then
again,
they can't practice it.
you see, it's not that they can't practice. Again, what they're doing is they're using another ego tool, which is rationalization.
Yeah.
So what they do is they're intellectualizing the course, and then they're rationalizing their whole life.
Yeah.
Beautiful, beautiful. You know, and I really do admire this system. Like, you know, it's foolproof, but it's
Like,
not God-proof.
This is a small amount of words here, and like
This is
we've
still
taken this amount of time to learn what they actually mean. So
What I say to new people coming into the course now is get all these and understand these
Yeah.
even before you read. And then when you're reading,
Yeah.
You know exactly. what-
Identify that they're actually happening in your life in a regular day. Yeah.
So
They're
listen,
probably all happening to me in one day.
yeah, of course. But if you look at it, we've only half these done already. Do you know what I mean? Like, and we're getting to the very core of what
Yeah.
this means.
Yeah.
So the next time you go to read the course, it's going to be so much more clear. People read the course and they're just so, you know, that's so complicated for them because they don't understand these.
Yeah, yeah,
And when you're reading something and you're reading projection, it's just a word then, like.
yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And then you understand what it means and this kind of stuff, but it doesn't, you know, the ego doesn't let you put it all in together.
Yeah.
You know? So this is a great way of studying the course, you know, and studying you know, what everything's for. If you understand what everything's for. Again, I'll go back to the analogy of a toolbox. You know, if you have a certain issue or emotion that you're feeling, right? How does the course say to deal with this? There's a tool there for you.
Yeah, yeah.
So it's like you going to you know, have your toolbox at home, go to do something. You reach for a screwdriver, you reach for pliers, you do this, because you know what's needed.
Yeah.
And this is what the purpose of what we're doing here today is for you to know what everything's for, and if you know what everything's for, then it's just to basically, right, I'll select this tool, I'll select this tool.
Yeah.
It's that simple. Yeah? So there are two purposes, okay? And I like to keep everything simple. So therefore, when you think of this, there's not a long, drawn-out answer to this. You know, all you're looking for is a little trigger, one word, you know, in your mind, what this is for. So the world, asleep or waking up. That's what its purpose is.
Separation.
Yeah. Keep,
I have here actually that it has a second purpose, which is actually what you said about there, about being a classroom.
yeah.
That would be right, isn't it?
Yeah, of course, of course.
Where is the classroom?
The next one, the body. What's the purpose of the body?
Probably to find it in something else, wasn't it? Along the way.
Yeah, yeah.
You're not far wrong. You're not far wrong. What does the course say? Proper use for the
Communication tool.
yeah, it's to facilitate learning would be the Holy Spirit's purpose for this. Okay, that's all it is. It's and it talks about communication. Okay, so we communicate with each other. How do we communicate with each other?
Talk rubbish in the pub.
Well, that's how the ego communicates. All
You
right?
said how do we communicate?
Well, I was talking about us as, you know, the one Son of God. So how do we communicate with each other?
In the mind.
Extending.
Mind.
What?
What we're
Love,
feeling.
love, extending love,
How?
being in your right mind.
How? Specificity.
Part of thought.
Can you spell that?
One word. Just one word.
Forgiveness.
Sex.
Who said forgiveness? Yeah, that's how we communicate with it. That's the proper use of the body is to join with another body. And the way that we truly join with each other is through forgiveness. It's the only reflection of love in this world. Okay, so if you want to love someone and you really, you know, feel that you're not loving this person, it's because you're not practicing forgiveness with this person. That's the only true purpose for us here. Okay, because it's forgiveness that wakens us up.
Michael, would you say the ego's purpose for the body is to procreate and like keep going, keep the story going?
Of course, it's to keep
That's
the
the
belief
ego.
in separation going, which is to the projection of guilt, fear, whatever else you want to use. Using the ego's toolbox. You know, the body. Remember, the body is neutral. It's only the mind that you choose will give meaning to the body and how you use it. Again, it's join in your mind first, be in your right mind first. Join with the Holy Spirit thought system. Okay? So, I was just asked a question yesterday in an email by one of the ladies who's doing the teacher's course, and she says, did Jesus, I like this question, she says, did Jesus bring the Holy Spirit into the world?
No.
No.
What
Well,
did he do?
yes. Brought the awareness.
Yes.
Yeah, you brought it, exactly.
And what is the Holy Spirit?
Right.
Right-minded thinking. That's what he brought into the world. And that's what his message was. It was right-minded thinking, and this is how he brought the Holy Spirit's awareness. The Holy Spirit has been in existence since the minute the ego was in, because the Holy Spirit's the correction. Okay? But we're so busy killing each other and eating each other and everything else. And, you know, but Jesus came to sow the seeds of right-minded thinking, of what love is, what forgiveness is, and who we are, and everything else. All these truths, and these truths have been suppressed and hidden by the church, and those are all going to be revealed very shortly in my book. You know, but that's what the Course in Miracles really does.
Is that a dreamer?
The Course in Miracles is basically the Holy Spirit in form, you could say. Okay? That's what it is. It's a book on right-minded thinking to become right-minded.
Can we buy this book for a Christmas present for ourselves?
Well, we won't have it this Christmas. Yeah. Right. The next one, I like this one now, right? I want to see who the deep thinkers are. What's the purpose of the separation?
I can be my own God. I can be master of my own universe.
Right.
Was it an escape from the wrath of God?
Yeah, to
May
avoid
God
God's
begin
punishment.
to party.
I believe that we are separated from God. You won't be
Are there
separated.
two purposes?
For the separation.
Yeah,
There's actually three.
3.
Yeah.
To become aware.
Is one. Who you said?
What's that one?
Become aware.
To become aware. Aware of what?
Oneness.
So we are
Is that what we
Separation.
were
Are you
talking
trying to
about?
separate it? We need a separation to become aware.
Yes.
That's what it was.
Yeah.
Because there
To
wasn't
become
before.
aware. The first purpose you could say, right, is self-realization. We have never been awake. We have never known who we are.
So the separation is to prompt us to.
Well, yes.
Yeah,
Yes.
Just make us see clearly, no?
Huh?
Make us see clearly.
Well, we can see clearly. But the problem is that the eyes we're looking through is keeping us blind.
So
Okay?
how did you put it? It's to prompt?
But basically the separation, okay, is an experience for us to become self-aware. Okay, we have never been awake. The second thing is,
Self-aware.
the second thing is, because we have never been aware, it looks like we have never had free will in heaven. Okay? So we're in the separation, we're experiencing separation, what it is like to be separate. So we're getting this out of our system. So when we're waking up back in heaven, we're going to have no thoughts about what it's going to be like to be away from God. So we're dreaming this. Remember, this is not reality, we're only dreaming this. Yeah? You're looking very confused, Joe.
Yeah, but going back in time, I mean, the creation, the ego mindset and all,
Yeah.
and the separation, well, you know, the hiding away here on earth, away from the fear of reprisal from God, for the, say, the separation as such, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Or having those thoughts that led to the separation, you know, specialness and so on and so on. You know, is the fact that we're here an element of that, a fear of reprisal from God, no?
Well, you know, that's what the ego has told us that story. Remember, what is the ego?
A belief system. A belief
We'll just go to this
system.
one. Right. It's a device. That's what
Yeah.
Jesus says. It's a device for us to experience separation. That's all it is. The ego's neither good nor bad nor holy or unholy or anything else, right? It's just a device. It's like getting into a car to experience, say you live in Dublin, you want to experience Galway, so you get into a car and you go and experience Galway. Now you're separate from Dublin and you have used the car to take you to Galway. So that's all the ego is, it's a device. So A is self-realization of who we are, and I think it's wonderful because this has never happened before. We're waking it up, you know. Because think about it, we can't waken up in heaven because it's a state of oneness. There's no consciousness, so that's impossible for us to experience self-realization in a state of oneness. Wouldn't that be true? You know, if there's no consciousness, we can't be conscious of ourselves or of God or of anything else. So it's given us the experience of separation, what it's like to be there, to get it all out of our system. It's given us self-awareness of who we are. And that basically is the third one then, is we're using now the separation to waken up. Yeah?
Say that again, the third one is what?
We're using the separation to waken up.
What's the second? Oh yeah. So to become self-aware, to experience separation, get it out of our Christmas system, and then to awaken.
Yeah. So like Jesus says in the Course, there's no accidents at the end of the day. All right. And again, Joe, it depends what perspective that you're looking at the separation from, because we're not just here alone. We're in other places also.
Yeah.
So again, that just the ego. Basically, the purpose of the ego is to facilitate separation. Okay.
You just told us this was to
It's the device.
a device. Oh yeah, to experience.
Yeah. And then attachments.
The ego purpose.
Specificity.
Oh, Lord.
See, the more specific you can be with this, the more clarity you're going to have.
Empty meanings.
The attachments have a very clear, defined purpose.
Attachments to keep us in the world, isn't it?
It was a reinforcing illusion that,
I'm not saying wrong to any of these, I'm looking for specificity.
Okay.
They have a very defined purpose hidden behind them.
Attachments.
Yes.
To the right.
Yeah. Well, I'll give you this clue, right? Behind every attachment, underneath it, is the peace of God. Okay? Underneath it, behind it, is the peace of God. So all attachments, the purpose of them, are designed to take your peace away. Because it's all about getting what's outside of you just exactly as you want it. So what we're all trying to do here, right, we're trying to build our own reality, have our own experience, but we want this, I don't want that, or that, I want this. So the attachments really encompass the separated self, all right? And if you look at your attachments, you can be sure, if you're honest with yourself, you look at all your attachments at some stage, you had to pull your hair out with them. Whether it's family members, whether it's a broken down car, whether it's a holiday that you expected to be the best holiday of your life but it turned into a disaster. All of these kind of things are all set up to take your peace away. Because behind every attachment is the peace of God. So when you let the attachment go, you will have the peace of God hidden underneath it, below it. There's nothing that you need outside yourself. Like Marie was saying in her talk, there's nothing outside yourself. Okay? So that's only half the right. We're not going to get time to go into the other half because that was kind of a bit longer than expected. So what I want to talk about, I did the talk. Any questions on that?
So you're not going to do the rest of them?
There's only six left.
Huh? I forgot about these. I'm sorry. I forgot about these. I thought that was it. Right, the soul. What's the purpose of the soul? It's coming up a lot, especially to do with the Course, because people are giving out about Ken Wapnick taking soul out and putting spirit in. And just let me say to those people, right, Helen didn't do anything that she didn't want to do. Okay, so a lot of people are projecting onto Ken Wapnick that Ken did this, Ken did that. Helen, basically nobody could have told Helen what to do. So, I think it's a little bit unfair that everybody's projecting on Ken about this because Ken came in to help and he didn't take over this in any shape or form. I spoke to John Monday. You can be sure, speaking from John, that nobody was going to do anything with the Course that Helen wasn't happy with, And I can understand why soul was taken out of the Course, and I can understand why it was in the Course. So what is the purpose of the soul?
Lead us home.
No.
Separated.
Connect us to God.
Yeah, it's our separated individual experience as spirit. So the body is our individual experience here.
Yeah.
Okay, so just imagine for a moment we're in the spiritual universe. Okay, now we're spiritual beings. Okay, now what I meet in the spiritual universe is everybody's soul. Because when we go above the spiritual universe, there's no individual
So
souls after
basically,
that.
the soul is the individual experience of
In the
spirit.
spiritual, yeah, yes. And I can understand why Jesus had that in, and I can understand why spirit. So, you know, on what do we say, on this level you could go, you know, the 3 levels?
Yes.
So you could go body, soul, spirit. Okay. Spirit is one. Bodies are separate, souls are seemingly separate, and the spirit is one. So they're neither right or wrong. But the purpose of the soul basically is to give you that individual experience as a spiritual being. It's the purpose of attack.
Suspend my separated self to avoid being attacked.
I like it. I like it. It's one of the defenses.
Track.
Yeah.
Projection.
When you're angry with someone, what are you doing? What's its purpose?
You're projecting your own self-hatred onto somebody else.
Like Jesus says, it's always your attempt to project your guilt onto someone else anytime you're angry or even a little annoyed with somebody. You can be a little annoyed. Always keep pulling back to the hierarchy of illusions. If you're wondering, you know, in differences between certain, you know, aspects of anything outside yourself, all right? Always look at it. There's no hierarchy of illusions. You know, it doesn't come down to behavior at the end of the day. Always go back to the mind. Yeah? So attack is always, the purpose of it is to put your guilt onto someone else. Defenses.
It's the same thing.
Denying responsibility for your own experience.
Well, if you go to attack a big castle, there's a whole rank of defenses around the side of it. Okay? Why is the defenses there?
Projecting something.
Yeah. It's the ego's idea of preserving itself, keeping itself, keeping you, you know, if you believe yourself to be individual and separate, then you are going to feel under attack. Okay? So the best way, and that's where you're coming from, the best way, Jesus says in the Course, is to defend yourself, is to attack. Do you know? So you'll always notice if you're having an argument with someone, that other person will be one of 2 things. They'll either be full on attack or they'll be so defensive. Both are the same.
Do you believe that you did something wrong or there's something wrong? I believe that there's something wrong.
In what context?
Defend yourself.
Oh, of course. Yeah. Like Jesus says in the Course, do you want to be right or do you want to be happy?
Yeah.
You know? So, you know, for me to be a separated being, I have to defend my separateness. If I don't, I could merge into oneness. This is the ego. The ego is always fear of attack. Yeah? Time.
Wake up.
Yeah. 2 purposes. Ego's working.
Keep the past and the present.
Yeah.
Keep
What's the
it away
ego's
from the
purpose
present.
first? The ego's purpose for time.
It gives reality because of life.
Keep us away from the present.
Yeah. And the ego loves the past. And the ego loves the future. The
So
ego
Yeah,
hates,
so keep away from the present.
yeah. The ego just absolutely hates the present moment. The now. It's a big threat. So the ego is going to muster all its defenses, everything out to keep you from going inside meditation or anything else of being in the now. Because it's only in the now that you will have the experience of God. Only when you're fully present. You want to go home tonight or any other night and say, right, I want to meet with God. I want to have an experience of God. Then there's a couple of things you must do. Stillness, silence, being present. You know, those are the 3 attributes that's going to take you into that experience. So look at your life and look at how hard you're avoiding that. You know, are you still finding it hard with meditation, Stephen?
Yeah.
Yeah. Do you know now the purpose behind it? I know.
I'm working on it.
Yeah, I know, but you can understand now, you know, the fear that's in there is because the ego smells that and just says this is a massive threat, you know, because the ego has no answer to God. So it does everything a head can and uses time to keep us away from the now. So if you really want to take on the ego, you know, if you want that experience with God, that's the resistance and the rationalizations that you have to go through to get to that moment. You know? And again, time, the other purpose for time, that Monica said, is to facilitate learning, to give us time to change our minds. Okay?
It's nothing to do with causality and effect.
Hmm?
The idea of time.
Cause and effect?
Yeah.
Of course it is. Everything's cause and effect. Everything's cause and effect. They're two thought systems, and they're both built on cause and effect.
Without time, you wouldn't have that.
Exactly. Exactly. So it's to give us time, basically, to change our minds.
Right, so that's the Holy Spirit's
Yeah.
use of time.
Yeah. You know. And then space.
Separation, limits, boundaries. The same as time and limits, it destroys wonders.
Yeah. Well, I kind of done this little thing was, say I'm standing on the spot here now, right? And there's a person in Los Angeles, they're standing on the spot. And there's a person in Australia, and they're standing on the spot. And the three of us are standing on the spot at the same time. Okay? But in reality, everybody's standing on the
There's
spot.
only the one spot.
Okay?
There's no space.
Because outside of ourselves, we look to be fragmented and different, but inside, we're all standing on the exact same spot. So space gives us the illusion that we're separate. You're over here, I'm going here, you're going to Dublin, somebody's going here, someone's going there. So now it looks like, yeah, we are separate. You know, we're all going in different directions, we're all in different places. So again, it's all a concept to build the illusion around that we're all separate. And what the person in Los Angeles is doing is no one to me. You know, even the person down the bar now, it's no difference to me what that person's doing. So you can see how the illusion is all working together to give you the illusion that this world is real.
Is there sorry,
Go ahead.
We're thinking the same.
Yeah,
is there a Holy Spirit purpose for space?
of course there is.
What's that?
Join it. You know, it's all about undoing the ego story and not believing the ego story, because inside we're all one.
So we
Outside,
can join into
yeah,
space.
of course. Yeah. And then the last one, the story.
Rationalization, separation, no?
Yeah. That's it. I want to read you out this. I did the, let me see if I can find it now. I did the complete forgiveness concept of my talk in London, and people just couldn't believe, you know, how much they were rationalizing. And I received this email from James Kelly, and he put it up on his blog, and I just want to read this out to you, right? Often people tell over and over again the same story about how much they were hurt, without realizing that by telling their story, they keep their pain. Okay? So if you're telling a story, huh?
Repeat that.
Right. Often people tell over and over the same story about how much they were hurt, without realizing that by telling their story, they keep their pain. Rationalization. So, you know, if you're telling a story over and over again to yourself, all right, just look at the story and realize how much you're rationalizing, because what you rationalize, you keep. Okay? So, I'm sure you've all been in this position. You've heard someone tell a story, and you go, wow, Jesus. And then you're way off, and did you hear about, you know, and then you repeat their story. What you're doing is now you're taking on their energy, their story, and it might as well be yours, because you're rationalizing this and you're bringing this, you're repeating it and you're repeating it over and over again. And people fall into this trap over and over again.
I was in a place yesterday and somebody was telling me a story about this child that died, and then so there was five or six other people and they were all listening to it, so they all started to tell the story. And then there was another person, and I was standing beside her, and she goes, she's just listening, she doesn't know any of these people, and she's just listening, and she goes, oh my God, there's an awful lot of doom and gloom in here, isn't there? And like, we were talking about something very serious, a child had died, a 2-year-old,
Yeah.
and everybody was upset and serious, and but she didn't take that on board at all.
No.
She didn't take that, she just said, oh my God, there's an awful lot of doom and gloom in here, isn't there?
Yeah. Yeah,
You know.
that's it. That's it.
That's
You
what
see-
the news are feeding
Huh?
on all the
Oh,
time.
the
That's what the
media
news
is
are
feeding
feeding on.
on.
I don't watch the news.
Yeah.
And when I have become aware of this, and when I have something bad, I just keep quiet.
Yeah.
I don't tell anybody.
Yeah, yeah.
It's not that I
Yeah.
don't want compassion or anything
Yeah.
like that. It's just that
But in Ireland,
it's not
we do,
serving.
in Ireland, we do this differently, Isabel.
Oh, in Spain as well. This is something else.
We tell everybody, we can't wait for the gossip.
It's the same in Spain,
Yeah.
just that I have learned, you know, not to carry away
Yeah,
with that
exactly.
story because I actually feel
Yeah.
how it is affecting me when it goes from mouth to mouth.
Exactly. Yeah.
And instead of getting compassion, I actually get pity.
Yeah, exactly. So, you know, you can see then how these other people went away with that story and them all feeling very sad, dejected and all of it, because they bought into it.
Yeah, she didn't even try and empathize or anything. She just sat there and said, "Oh my God!" And even like between a whole lot of people all talking about this one child, she took a big chance in saying that because it looked like that maybe she didn't value the fact that this child had died. You know, but she didn't take anything on board. She didn't care about anything. It was just, "Oh my God, there's a lot of."
Did you?
Yeah, I was drawn into it.
Were you drawn into it because of the death?
Yeah, I was because it was a local death, like
Yeah.
it was a 2-year-old. So I
And
was
did you
kind of-
believe the story about the death? Did you?
We won't go there.
Do you know what I mean? Like, I mean, you know, we won't get caught into the story if we're not aware.
Yeah.
So you look at that story, it's not about, you know, the eagle saying you're cold-hearted, you don't care, blah, blah, blah. But you look at it with the truth,
Yeah.
you know, there is no death.
Yeah.
All experiences are preordained, no one dies without their consent. So if someone was telling me that story, you know, I would be there, I'd be compassionate, I'd be everything else, because you're not going to show this person that, you know, yeah. So you listen the same way and you be compassionate and everything else. But in my mind, I'm not buying into the story because I have a different story. There's no death, there's no accidents.
Yeah.
And we're all here having our own experiences, and that means that person needs that experience. They have chosen that experience to have that child, and so on.
Yeah.
So that to me is true empathy. When you take, right, what does the Course say about this? This is what I always do. You know, this is the ego story or this person's story. And I say, right, what does the Course say on this? So now you're not actually denying it. You're not saying, I don't want to hear about it or anything else. You're looking at it with the truth. Because that's what the Course is. It's a book about the truth of why we're all here, what we're experiencing and everything else.
Yeah.
So that's what it comes down to. So the next time you won't be presented another opportunity of that.
Yeah.
So again, just go back in it now and just ask yourself, what does the Course say about this?
Yeah.
You know, and usually the most painful experiences are all around death.
Yeah.
You know, and death is a complete illusion.
I don't think that one person was coming from that
No, it doesn't matter.
situation either. I think it was just because she didn't know anybody or know that she was just,
exactly.
oh,
Exactly.
you know.
Exactly.
But I don't think she was coming from the way that we would.
Yeah. And if that person realized how much that was going to cause her pain in the future.
Yeah.
See, this is the, you know, the purpose of A Course in Miracles, I think, to show the world how much we're asleep and how much we're rationalizing our pain and keeping the whole thing going. You know, so it's all about just awareness at the end of the day. You know, so the story, you know, people come to me and, I mean, first thing I try to get them to do is I listen to the story, because the story as a therapist will give you a lot of information about how you can help the person, but ultimately try to get the person to drop the story for a start.
Yeah.
You know, because that's the root cause of their problems, because they're rationalizing their pain, and that's what's keeping the pain.
Yeah.
So that must be the first thing you could turn around and say, you know, to give this person some respite, some relief, you know, stop doing this for a start.
And could you give somebody like that lost their only child, you know, to that kind of relief, that kind of...
I don't know, because I would need to be in that position, because I couldn't sit here now and say, this is what I would say, or that was what I would say, you know, in all my therapy.
They'd have to come looking for it.
Well, first thing would have to come looking for it, but I would, you know, join with Jesus first, you know, and then anything I would say after that will be helpful, because it will be coming from someone who knows.
Yeah.
I would only be taking a hot guess at the end of the day. Like, so this is why it's important, you know, even if you're a student of the Course, is go to Jesus first. You know, because what you're really doing, it's not Jesus the man you're going to. What you're doing is you're choosing that right-minded thought system.
Yeah.
And that's what he's a symbol of. You know? That's all he's just a symbol of this right-minded thinking. So when you join with Jesus first, you're just choosing the Holy Spirit thought system, or the right-minded thought system. And now anything you say and do will be helpful. But it would be egotistical of me to sit and think I know what the answer to that would be, because I have to say in all my therapy sessions, I've never, I think, turned around and given the same person the same advice. You know, it's all been different. You know. So we'll finish up. Is there any other questions? You happy with that?
Very good session.
Yeah. Lovely. Thank you very much. Then.